Hey folks, welcome back to Chip Stock Investor. Going to do something a little bit different today. Rather than talk about an actual semiconductor company, I want to talk about a potential positive trend that's developing for 2023. Or more specifically, maybe I should say a reversal of a really horrible negative trend from 2022 that was, I think, an often misunderstood or perhaps completely overlooked drag on stocks last year. I probably don't need to tell you how awful 2022 was for the stock market overall, but especially tech stocks and chip stocks. So let's talk about this trend, this macroeconomic trend, and that was the strength of the US dollar. Before continuing, let me remind you to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if this video is helpful as you do your own investment research and increase your knowledge of business and technology. We really appreciate the support, as subscribing to the channel helps us continue putting out content like this for you to make use of. Now, this is an interesting topic, and I'm going to introduce it here by sharing a chart of the Invesco US dollar index. This index follows the ICE US dollar index, which measures the value of the US dollar against a basket of other currencies, just over half of it, the euro, and then a blend of other currencies. So here is the value of the US dollar using this index fund for about a decade and a half. And you can see here in the wake of the financial crisis in 08, 09, this deterioration in the value of the dollar, but then it starts to rally the second half of the 2010s. But then, more importantly here for our discussion, this really big spike in 2022. This was caused by the US Federal Reserve's interest rate hikes, which were the most aggressive ever in history. They went from basically 0% to where we are today, approaching 5%. Here at the beginning of 2023. That spike does some interesting things if you are a multinational company, one that does business outside of the United States. Basically, you're collecting sales in a currency other than the dollar. So zooming in on the chart here, just over the last year, you can see the peak in the dollar was up as much as 20% year over year in late September, early October. Now, this has a really dramatic effect if you're converting a foreign sale back to dollars at this point in September, October. So let's say you're a company, you operate in the Eurozone. You sell 100 euros worth of products in September, October 2021. It converts to about 118 US dollars. Fast forward to 2022, you make the same 100 euro sale, but you convert that to US dollars, it's only worth 98 bucks. This phenomena, again, caused by the Federal Reserve's increase in interest rates this past year, is going to have a different effect on different companies, basically depending on their percentage of sales overseas, as well as which particular countries they're doing business in. But just in general terms, let's use an example here. Let's use Nvidia. This is a snapshot from Nvidia's Q3 fiscal 2023 quarterly filing with the SEC. Nvidia showed that almost 64% of their revenue came from outside of the United States in this quarter, and for most of the year. So Nvidia has been reporting big declines in their video game segment. That's where all of the focus has been, on Nvidia's slowing growth and, more recently, year-over-year revenue declines. But often overlooked here is the strength of the dollar, which has been a huge drag on Nvidia's growth and ultimately its year-over-year decline in revenue. So this is an effect that is hitting all sorts of tech stocks, all sorts of semiconductor stocks. AMD, in a similar boat, they reported about 64% of their sales came from outside of the United States in their last quarter. So more than just revenue taking a hit, this actually affects a company's profitability as well, especially if after converting the revenue back to dollars, it's now its value has now been lowered. And now if you're a company that expenses most of your operations here in the United States in dollars, you take in international revenue at a lower value, then expense it in a strong dollar, maybe for research and development, maybe the purchase of equipment, maybe to pay your sales and marketing team, whatever the case may be. Those lower dollars, value dollars, getting expensed at the full strength of the dollar also hits your profit margins. We saw this with a lot of big tech companies. Microsoft in particular reported a huge slowdown in growth because of foreign currency exchange rates. And because a lot of Microsoft's expenses are in dollars, we actually saw their earnings growth far, far, far below revenue expansion. So this is not an effect all companies report. The chip stock companies, by and large, didn't report on this, but we can put the pieces together here and determine that it wasn't just declining sales from the consumer market or from video games for Nvidia that was hitting its revenue and deeply impacting its profit margins. It was also this huge run up in the dollar. I'm going to go back to the chart of the dollar one more time here and show just what has happened since October. You can see now the value of the dollar going back down in almost just as dramatic fashion as it went up. So all of a sudden, what was a headwind against multinational companies is now maybe not a tailwind yet, but some of these pressures from a strong dollar are easing up. So to illustrate this effect going backwards, use the same example. Let's say you're that company, you sell 100 euros worth of product in September, October 2022. It converts to 98 US dollars. Fast forward to today, that same 100 euro sale is back up to 108 US dollars. So if this trend continues, obviously you can see how this foreign currency exchange rate can reverse and suddenly become a tailwind again, where before it was a very, very strong wind blowing against multinational companies. A lot of this has to do with the Fed and what it's saying it will do with interest rates. The Fed saying that the pace of interest rates are now slowing down headed into 2023. They're going to pause at some point. At least that's the language they're using at the moment. That could change, but right now it looks like we're going to get a pause in interest rate hikes. And so the value of the dollar versus foreign currency is easing up. So this headwind at the very least is going away. And as other central banks around the world kind of play catch up to the Fed, hike their interest rates as well to try to fight inflation, the dollar could actually start to lose even more value by the second half of 2023. If the dollar starts losing value from where it was the year prior, this could actually become a tailwind for a company reporting sales outside of the United States. Just to recap, in 2022, because of the Federal Reserve aggressively hiking interest rates, the US dollar gained in value against foreign currencies, which lowered the value of revenue and profits for companies doing business outside of the US. That trend now reversing for 2023. If it holds, what was a big headwind last year could turn into a major tailwind for stocks in 2023, especially tech stocks, including semiconductor businesses that derive a ton of business in foreign currencies outside of the US dollar. Hope you found this video helpful to your research. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We've got more topics coming your way as we head into earnings season again. Fourth quarter 2022 earnings season starting this week. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot more videos for you as we keep you up to date on things like the dollar and it giving back some value and financial reports for a lot of great companies that we cover here.